So you need to set up your composition once it's been approved, make sure that everything is kind of touching the borders or touching each other. That's also really important. Put the tape on the edge if you can. Try not to cover up your Sharpie. It will make your life harder later. I'm going to flip this guy over and I'm going to trace the negative space. So I'm making shapes. Everything I'm drawing right now is a shape. Everything is contained. Before we were drawing with the black Sharpie and it was kind of like we were acting as the paper. And now I am drawing the spaces that I'm going to be cutting out later with an X-Acto knife. So this is that negative and positive. We just switched sides. We were drawing the positive, but now we're drawing the negative. So you're drawing in between all of these designs. Once you're finished, you can see what it looks like here. If you had a black background, this will look a little different. You won't have that outline because the black paper will kind of help hold everything together, but this is what it should look like with a white background. I'm going to flip this guy over and I'm going to start to color it to do the ebony transfer. So when I say ebony transfer, it just means graphite transfer, pencil transfer. So any soft pencil, these are golf pencils and they worked just fine. So soft 2B pencils like what you used for testing in high school. I didn't video this part, but you're going to lightly tape this piece of white paper to your final black paper. There's kind of a gritty side to the black paper and I want to trace onto that so that the smooth side points out. I'm using a red ballpoint pen. You can use blue. It doesn't actually matter as long as I just think that ballpoint pens are the best for this. I use the red just so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm applying quite a bit of pressure here, especially over these traced pieces of paper. They're harder. It's harder to draw over the traced paper. It kind of is a little squirrely. It sometimes rips and stuff. So I'd say this is the most annoying part of the whole process. It's much easier to trace the other side. But over here, I'm doing the exact same thing again, where I'm tracing the negative space. I'm tracing the holes. I'm tracing the cutouts. And I'm doing that. You can see I'm kind of peeking to see how it's doing. I left one corner of the paper up so I could kind of get a look at it. You don't want to remove all the tape until you're sure you're done, just because it can be hard to line it up again. But I'm just going to kind of keep going and tracing it. This is definitely the hardest part of the process because it's just a little bit awkward. And I have way too many tiny, tiny things here. Like you guys hopefully did not make your life this difficult because this one was really hard for me to do. Okay, this is Geo from a completely different day, but here you go. You should take peeks at it as you're working on it. The graphite should be very clear. So if for whatever reason the graphite is really light and you can't see it on the black paper very well, then you're either not putting enough graphite on the back to, make the transfer happen, or you're not putting enough pressure, as you can kind of see here. So just make sure you're using pressure. The ballpoint pen works best. And this side is so much easier than the other side. I find this side to be like a breeze compared to trying to trace over the tracing paper. But this is what it should look like when it's done. Double check everything before you take the paper off, just to make sure that the transfer went really well. And then you move on to cutting.